Welcome everybody to Women Creating the Regenerative Future. And here I am with these enormously talented change maker, paradigm shifting women. And we in this moment are about to take a moment as we close our eyes and stoke our inner sacred campfire. So let's just take a moment and stoke that campfire, everyone together, and ignite the future that we want to see. So take a deep breath and breathe in all of the elements of Mother Gaia. And as we do that, the power of all of those ignites this powerful campfire of wisdom keepers in this special room of women regenerating the future. And, what I want to say is that, oh, okay, you don't know who I am because, okay, Heather, you want to introduce
I
me?
would be honored to introduce you, Janice. Welcome, 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 everyone, to our Global Fire Ceremony room. We are so honored and blessed to be with you all today. We are on this incredible journey that began on December 11th, our Enlightening Our Way Together journey. And we are so blessed to have these amazing women with us in this circle, as Janice shared. We're going to be honoring how women are creating the regenerative future. And I am deeply blessed to get to introduce Janice. Janice and I were in a beautiful ceremony together last evening. And I just feel so honored to get to introduce her and be in this space with her again. So Janice Hall is a social alchemist and synergistic culture and business ecosystem designer with a broad-based global network who thrives on connecting visionary change agents, paradigm shifters, and evolutionary leaders. Wow. She is gifted at articulating the narratives for new, thrivable worlds and futures. She is president, Natural Network International, strategic management, business development, trends forecasting, brand building for wellness, environmental sustainability, climate change, and clean technology solutions that are committed to fostering a regenerative and evolutionary coherent world. Janice played a role as one of the architects of the natural and organic products industry. Working toward global peace, she has contributed pioneering efforts in media and international event development with the Natural Product Expos, the UN, and various NGOs. She serves on the advisory board of the Climate Collaborative, is on the leadership team of the One Humanity Institute, and builds strategic partnerships for the American Renewable Energy Institute. Wow, amazing. Thank you, Janice. I am so grateful to turn it over to you and these amazing women.
Well, I just want to share what really drove me to initiate this session. And that is, I really feel like probably many of you do, that nature is beckoning us to listen. And not just listen with our traditional senses, with our ears or take with our eyes, or what many of us do in the 21st century. It's very mental. We try to figure things out with our left brain. But I think that it's really time for us to learn how to listen with our whole being. And that means we need to uncover these extra senses that we have, that I often see us as, for instance, like a starfish or an octopus with the tentacles that have all those different eyes. I believe the Egyptians say we have over 200 senses, and I feel like they extend out to our Merkaba field. And if we really take a deep breath, we're going to feel our Merkaba fields bumping up against each other, and we're going to hear with our whole being what this new regenerative human narrative needs to be. We need a new human story, and it needs to be holistic. It needs to be deeper, and we need to find a more coherent way of relating to each other and the planet, both spiritually and culturally. And we need to look back at the guidance of our ancient wisdom and ancient cultures in order to understand better the way we move forward. I also love the metaphor of the butterfly. And, the butterfly has two sets of DNA, one for the caterpillar, one for the butterfly, but they don't communicate. That poor caterpillar has to totally dissolve into complete mush before this butterfly is birthed. But I think as humans, we've not yet touched our potential. And I think that if we were to intentionally try to uncover and recognize that DNA of our future human, and recognize that it's encoded in our imaginal cells, just like the butterfly, it's time to wake these cells up, I feel, and create that future human now. And I think it's time to take heart. That's why I have these wonderful women here, because we need to look both from the past, from the future. We need to look at individual things to do, but we have to look at things systemically, because both human and Earth's ability to regenerate, I think, has been vastly, vastly underestimated. And so I'm going to shut up now because I don't have anything that I can add to that for the moment, but that's why I have all of you here. And I think that I am first going to introduce you, Auntie Puna, and because you carry this heritage that, as I just mentioned, is so important for us to really not just with our arrogant 21st century minds think, oh, I've got an answer for this or an answer for that. I think the answers have been here all along. Our application may be different. So I want to introduce first, I hope I say this right, Kikilana Wahini Alio Puna Kalama Dawson. Did you okay?
You did fine.
Fine, you'll have to say it. I tried my best because that's a big name. So we call her Auntie Puna. And Puna lives on Kauai, Hawaii, and she is an official record keeper of the Hawaiian culture and history, an internationally honored elder of the Hawaiian Islands, and her family roots take her far back in time. Her direct ancestors are found in the royal family of the time of the Hawaiian kingdom, as well as the lineages of the hula masters, which are the kahula, the lua masters, the kalua, and the seers, who are the kahuna. And Puna travels the footprints of her ancestors all over the world, sharing this powerful, powerful knowledge. And then what I think might be good is, why don't you just say a hello? I'll introduce everybody all one at a time, and then you can all speak afterwards. So then next, say hello, Auntie Puna, so you end up in speaker view for a minute.
Aloha, everyone.
Biggie, I'm still in speaker view. Okay. Okay. Biggie's producing this, and so I'm going to trust that you all in the audience are seeing exactly what you're supposed to see. So there you go. And next, Dr. Anita Sanchez, who was supposed to be here, will pop in a bit later. But right now, next I have Helen. Helen is from Australia and is currently working with the global team to deliver Communicate, COMMUNIC8. And Regenerate is her podcast with Kelly here. And she and I have been working across the world to support the originally Australian communities, particularly in the Rocky River area, and the elders and the wisdom keepers, and many of you have just recently met Uncle Lewis. Anyway, she's a mistress of many, many talents, and this human-centric platform that she and her colleagues have designed identifies opportunities with a focus on creating sector-wide holistic solutions that can transform the way decisions are made by working collectively to mobilize awareness and bring real impact and change to regenerate our communities. She's also a regenerative farmer and helps, I forget, she'll have to tell us how much land she and her husband has, but they create long-term practical solutions that help farmers stay resilient in drought-stricken areas, which has been such a huge problem in Australia and one of the reasons they've had such horrific fires. So regenerative agriculture. So not only does she work on the ground and digs her hands directly into Mother Earth, but she also is a systems person that helps us to understand how everything fits together. And Connie, my dear sister Connie and I go back many, many, many years in this lifetime alone and many lifetimes. And she is, it would take a long time to do her bio, but she's an author, a filmmaker, a photographer, and above all, really a futurist, because Connie has been seeing this future human and looking back from the future to the now for decades. She's been way ahead of her time and has offered a really uplifting worldview in the midst of a lot of confusion and chaos when people are going, what's going on? I thought we were trying to fix the world. And she's going, we are. You just have to trust. And she and her partner, Andrew Cameron Bailey, wrote a game-changing book called The Trust Frequency, 10 Assumptions for a New Paradigm. It synthesizes indigenous cosmology, quantum science, and Eastern and Western mysticism into a framework that's a unique articulation of universal truths and offers practical transformation tools for accessing a higher vibratory state of awareness, wellness, and happiness. That's a real key there, because we hear a lot of wisdom keepers and esoteric conversation, which tells us how we should be, but doesn't give us the tools to get there. And the Trust Frequency is available on Amazon and many other places that have great books. And then we have Kelly. And Kelly, you are going to introduce yourself, because I don't have a bio of you, but we have been working closely. We've only met a few weeks ago. She and Helen have a podcast that brings the truth tellers and paradigm shifters to down under, and they have a huge following. And what we've just done in the past week or two has merged the northern and southern hemispheres. And so we've been merging the wisdom keepers and the paradigm shifters from all over. So right now you're streaming live in Australia. It's, what time is it? It's 9:22 in the morning. And so we really are global right now. And with that, I'm going to ask who feels moved. I'm not going to be a dictator. So who feels moved to share first on any of these constructs that I've sort of framed this conversation? Don't wait. I see things bubbling. So
all right, well, I'll start.
Okay.
First of all, I'd just like to say it's an honor to be here. I personally am so excited about our future. I feel like we're about to move into, I think we're there, actually. We're about to move into a massive state of regeneration across this planet like the world's never seen before. I think the key elements that have blocked that move are about to be removed. I think all the things we've been dealing with in all of our activism all this lifetime is just going to become very simple and natural crimes against humanity. We would no longer need to be putting that sort of energy into highlighting these issues and solving them. I think even more so, we're about to move into an amazing, beautiful space of human renaissance across the planet. We are in this amazing time on planet Earth where we have actually entered a new Earth energetic. And I stand here primarily as an indigo starseed, actually, here on this planet to find the truth and usher in this new consciousness. And my work here in Australia has been orientated around regeneration. But I really, truly feel right now we're about to enter a new earth energetic. And for me, I'm very interested now what that looks like, what it looks like to be in a functioning new version of reality, where what our economy looks like, what business looks like, how charities have to change as a result of no longer really needing to solve these problems. Where do we go now as human beings as we stand here with our hearts wide open in this wonderful space? And I think the future, or I shouldn't even say the future anymore. I mean, we're on the 21st right now. This great awakening is being ushered in like in a few days' time. I think we are going to stand here and it's going to be made up of the peacemakers, the surrenderers, and the radicals. And I would say every woman here today feels that criteria. So I would just start the conversation off by saying it's a really interesting journey right now, because if you're involved in any sort of organization or business or any sort of social movement that has spent the last 100 years having to sort of solve these problems, we're going to be looking at a new paradigm. So what does that actually look like when we don't have problems to solve, when we move into a human renaissance? And the economy is a really interesting one, because I have been exploring cryptocurrency, this blockchain technology that really ushers in transparency, accountability, fairness, all these things that we haven't had in this pyramid structure up until now. And that is going to change a lot of how we operate in this world. So ladies, I want to start by asking you, what are you in this new earth? Where does this new earth take you personally? And what's it going to look like from your eyes?
Who wants to pop in there? Okay.
Go on, Heather. Heather, get in there.
Wow. I'm still feeling the vibrations of the claiming of being an indigo starseed. I love that you are speaking that truth and invoking that energy so clearly and beautifully, and inviting all of our fellow indigo starseeds to stand up and truly be seen and be heard. And so thank you for that beautiful invitation, sister. And incredibly, so I'll share this and then I'm going to be quiet. I'm about to have my solar return on the 18th, just a few days before our monumental solstice. And I am truly in awe that I get to sit here in this sacred circle with you amazing women. And like, wow, this is an amazing completion to this year. And what a beautiful opening for what's to come. So thank you all so much for your gifts and for your sharing.
Well, that brings up for me, Auntie Puna, that I'd like to ask you, what do you think are some of the most important pieces? I know this is a big question, it's a big answer. The most important pieces of ancient knowledge that we can bring forward. And maybe you can tell a little bit about your past and the culture of the royal family and what's been handed down to you, so that we have sort of a base from which, an ancestral base from which to build this new human that Kelly is speaking about. Would you mind?
No, I don't. And I'd like for all of you to just join me in this simple expression, because then it brings in all of our ancestral history. So if you'll put your hands in front of your mouths, yeah, just put them on top of each other and just breathe into them. Breathe into your hands. Yeah, that ha, that breath. And lift it up. Now, throughout the world, if everyone is doing this with us, all of our families are talking to each other. Everyone, yeah? So in our breath is our DNA. And so this is a very old practice. It's a way of greeting. It's a way of coming together as one people. But why I asked you to do that, that ha in that word Hawaii, that is the breath. Now all of you rub your belly buttons, yeah? Put your hands and rub your belly buttons. We all come from the waters of our mothers. And if you've come from someplace else, because some people have, if you've come from someplace else, please text me, let me know, email me, because I really want to talk to you. But I come back to that idea that everyone comes from the birth waters of our mothers. And that is way. That is a way in the word Hawaii. And then Ionalani is that universal pono or good, or the highest pinnacle point of truth. So when you say that word Hawaii, what you're saying is, here we are, one entity of thought, one indigenous, exceptional appreciation of man who is kind. When we understand that we carry the breath and the waters, we come from the waters of this universal good, there is no separation. We live in this ocean of time, and the time is designed by the different longitude and latitude that defines Australia, defines Hawaii, defines Japan. You know, our whole world is measured by these means. And so, but we're still one world. We're still one people. And so being Hawaiian, which we are, we're all of the same intention. We have responsibility in the areas that we live, and we do things according to who and what we are. Being an ali'i, you folks have heard that before in the past. Ali'i is not the kings and queens that sit on the top. Ali'i are the people who are the ground keepers. They sit at the bottom. And everything that is done is to lift the people up, to hold them, and prepare for them the highest good, to gift of the best. You know, so when I say, I'm going to say to everyone, where are the Hawaiians? All of you got to lift up your hands. Lift those hands up, because Hawaiians are people who are kind, people who understand the roles and responsibilities that they hold in whatever capacity they are. Hawaiians are the people who prepare, like our ancestors did, 7 generations in front, so that we would be able to appreciate what we have in the now. So what we're all doing, you know, I loved what was being said earlier, Kelly, because it's the truth. We're preparing and have been preparing through all the generations for the future. But the future is now. We have the ability, when things are prepared for us the way they have been, it's important that in caring, being true Hawaiians, that we care for what we have to ensure it's going to be there for those in the future. We have everything put into our hands from our ancestral history. We take care of it in the present to ensure that it's going to be for everyone in the future. So when, maybe my answer is very long. I'm sorry.
No, no.
But
it's perfect. Keep going, because this is really, this is a core piece, because the understanding that we're all Hawaiian, it's like every culture. It's so interesting what I'm learning. All the wisdom keepers are rising now, and they all have the same prophecies, only a different cultural story to change them. And they're stories of how we are all one. It's stunning to see the truth of that and the synchronicity. And to know that we are all Hawaiian from that past, you're giving us the tools to get to where we already are in our future.
Oh my goodness, yes. You know, Kelly mentioned the indigo seeds. Well, we are been watching and following the prophecies, the same prophecies that everybody is throughout the world. we are continuously looking and celebrating the indigo children that are being born. So I'm looking across the screen and I'm looking at all of you that fall into that category of, 40 years and 40 to 60, right? And so you're the shakers and the movers. That's been foretold a long time ago that this would happen. And through that expression would come the indigo, the next generation, next generation, next generation. So you figure if we're counting correctly, these are the children that are being born now. The children that have been born in the last 15 years are all of the seeds that were planted. And they come with such gifts, and we've got to stop and listen, because they're carrying the thread of the DNA from the ancestral history. It's all been predicted. And so when you think about the Mayan culture, you think about the Egyptian culture, you think about the Aboriginal culture, we're all speaking the same thing. We're all talking about what is. This COVID happened, this pandemic happened. It was all prophesied that we would come to a point in life, in the Christian belief, in all of the different religions, that we would experience the apocalypse. But the apocalypse is not the end of the world. It is a rejuvenation and the opportunity to begin again, to do a reset, which is exactly what we're all talking about, what you're all describing. The opportunity for us to appreciate what was in the past, because many of us don't practice that. And the core of that is aloha. You say Eloha, Elohim, the core of the indigenous world. No matter where you come from, no matter what culture you come from, we all share the same earth. We share the same breath. We share everything. There is just one. Yes, there are people in the other parts of the universe that are becoming more and more visible to us. But because we're all sharing the same thing, all of us are connected by the oceans, 8 oceans of this world connect us. So our breaths are connected, the ocean's connected, everything's connected. It's to remind us that there's just one. We're celebrating and sharing this one earth. What is even more important when I talk about the ancestral history and the DNA and so forth, in our understanding of aloha, akahai is the first letter or the a. Yeah? Akahai is to be kind. So I want all of you to point to yourself. Point to yourself first. Akahai, in doing the work that you all are doing, you must be kind, but you have to be kind to yourself first. You must recognize that abundance comes from some place. And when you're sharing your heart space and you're sharing your breath and you're sharing whatever it is that you're sharing, it has to come from a well of goodness. And that's kindness. And that kindness begins with you. So when you can share the kindness with yourself first, it's not being selfish. It's being responsible. So in that word aloha, that first letter is exactly that. It's saying to you to be kind to yourself first before you can share that kindness with others. So taking care of yourself is key. In the second letter, it says lokahi. Lokahi is family. And so right now, here we are. We're one family. Being responsible to yourself and then to your family. Yeah, in that word aloha, we're saying, come share our space. Come share my breath. Come share what I have. That is a true understanding of aloha. But all these characteristics make up the tools and the understanding of who we are, how we are in relationship to our family. And then the third letter is olu olu. All of you, can think of somebody that comes to mind that calls your name a certain way. Only they do, be it a parent, grandparent, auntie, uncle, even your hoaloha. And I'm going to say, if you are lucky enough to have an animal that is very close to you, There's sometime a way that they look at you that just brings joy to your heart. People are in our lives. They're olu olu. Being olu olu, being able to see and appreciate diversity, that's being olu olu. That's people that you can't get enough of. It's like a newborn baby, that essence, right? So we can all appreciate people in our lives that help us to understand and appreciate not only who we are, and they're usually the ones we forget. We forget because they're so close. They're around us. How many of you save things? Oh, we're going to save this to a later time because when somebody special comes home to our house, then we can share it at that time. All of you got those things in your closets, right? Things that you share, keep for a special time. I'm saying, don't save it. Your family and the people that surround you, that nurture you, that give you love unconditionally, that's who you want to save. That's who you want to share those things with. Yeah? Don't save it for later on. You only have the moments of now. So understanding that Olu Olu is really addressing the people who are right around you, and then understanding that there's an extension to that. Just like what we are now. There is an extension to the moment of our immediate family, but here is a larger family. And then we have the global family. In that word, aloha, the fourth letter is ha'aha'a. Ha'aha'a is to be humble. And that's something that we're all learning daily, realizing we don't have all the answers. What happens here in Hawaii will definitely affect those that are on the other side of the earth. And likewise. So when there's sadness, that sadness is shared. That understanding is shared. We send light to that sadness. When there's joy, we receive that joy. We send light to that joy. In understanding it, ha'aha'a was never meant that our world, that we would be separated, that there would be an opportunity for us to share our being, who we are, what we are. And we continue to do that. So being ha'aha'a is really connecting to more than what is right around us. It's being responsible and caring for the whole world. And in that last letter of the word aloha is ahonui. Ahonui, to have patience. I was listening to everything that was being said and recognizing how important all of you are, because you have had the patience and the fortitude to do the kind of work that you're doing. The patience and the fortitude to continue, even though you come up against challenges. Yeah, having the patience and perseverance to know that what you're doing is what is necessary. You're driven. It comes from a deep-seated place. What's also important to just to reiterate is time. We live in this ocean of time, and hula is how we dance from moment to moment. So hula is not the dance. It's the dance that we do from moment to moment. And even though we may put things into perspective and line them up and have a timeline, agenda, or whatever you want to say, it's a guide. It's not the answer. Understanding time. When things come to you in your na'au, in the inside of you, the core of who you are, we call that your nihipili. When things come there, and then comes to your heart, and then comes to your mind, that inspiration tells you it's the right time. When we only use our thought and then try to initiate an idea, it doesn't really work because it's not the right time. People say, oh, Hawaiian time, it's okay to be late because it's Hawaiian time. That's not true. Being mindful of time is making sure that all three things are present, that you have that ancestral knowing, or what you call in today's time, intuition. If you think about all that has happened throughout our lives, when people don't listen to their intuition, we usually lose our way. We have to come back. And so that is what I'm talking about when I say your core self, right? When the time is there, correct? And then at the heart, because that's where your compassion and love and appreciation is there. And then here, I believe that's how this consortium has become a reality. It's because it was the right time for these things to happen. And, you know, Janice will tell you, I just saw the PR this morning in Hawaii time, and, you know, got back to her and say, what time is that in your time? We don't practice time in the sense of like everybody else. I don't know what is Eastern Standard Time. I just know now time. And so she says, it's now time. It's today. It's right. It's going to be at 12. You know, 12 o'clock in my time, 12 o'clock is like the highest expression of thought. Our ceremonies happen at high noon and high night. And it is because of how we are in relationship. So I'm going to try to cut this short by saying the energy of the sun, when we walk from moment to moment, and this is in all cultures, we motion with our hips, which is a motion of the moon. We walk with our feet, which is the motion of the sun. So as humankind, we move from place to place. What we do with our torso and to our shoulder, and then from our shoulder to the heavens, we are the electricity or the kahekili that connects the heaven to earth. So when I say ecliptically, when we move our hips and we walk with our feet, it is the sun and the moon in motion. It's not a dance, it's life. When we use our hands and we use our whole self, our heart, and then we express with our thoughts through our mouths or even through touch, we are connecting the heaven and the earth. We are the shakers and the movers. We're the electricity and the energy. And so I am so honored to be in the presence of all of you because you are nurturing not just me, but the whole earth in what you feel, in what you express, and what you share. So I say to all of you, mahalo for this gift of your time and mahalo for the gift of your spirit, because it continues to be the sign or the whole Ailona. Yeah, everything in my culture, we look for things that help us to understand the pathway that the ancestors left for us, our kupuna. And then oftentimes we hear it through our children, through the animals around us. And if we're lucky enough to be in tune with what is happening in the environment, we'll hear it in the wind. So again, I say to all of you, mahalo for allowing me to be witness to all of you and to be witness and a part of this blanket that we are sharing throughout the earth of hope, this blanket of peace, this blanket of aloha. Mahalo.
Mahalo. Thank you so much, Auntie Puna. That was just so perfect because you've just given us the tools that we need to embody, to take with us in this future human and live through all the words that you just shared with us, because that is the beingness that allows the world to change. And it's a perfect segue to Helen's work with the earth, because as we change ourselves first, which is what you've given us, the tools to embody our highest self, then we have to do the work in the world. And Helen works particularly on many things, but as a farmer working with regenerative earth and working with the sun and the moon. So I'd like you to address how, you know, working with the earth is one of the most important things that we can do in nurturing our planet in the future. And then with our time left, Connie, you have, because Anita will not be joining us. She, her other business went over. But then Connie, you have such great tools in the trust frequency for how to wrap and weave all of these thoughts together. So that's what I'd like to hand it over to you, Helen, for a minute.
Thank you, Janice. And Auntie Puna, I am just such beautiful words. They really resonated so powerfully for me, particularly when you spoke about the mother and the water and the birth process, because water is life. You know, water is the giver of so many things. And when we work with soil and diversity in the soil, soil holds more water. Soil holds more water than the rivers. And the soil and the diversity in the soil is a reflection of our communities. So when we have beautiful, thriving soil, that is what we strive for in our communities. The beautiful connections, the way that we work together and speak with each other and connect with each other. And so I think that in the journey of us learning, you know, our farmers, our conventional farmers who have been taught the wrong ways, we need to connect back to our sacred, the way that we work in the earth from our sacred ancestral history. And I think that me working with farmers, you know, particularly Australian farmers who have been, you know, most of our country is farming country. And we are now trying to teach our farmers about what regenerative agriculture is and what it's about. And what we're learning actually is that moving farmers away from conventional agriculture, getting away from glyphosate and chemical fertilizers is actually being, has actually the seed of that comes from the wives. The women are saying, we don't want this anymore. We need to nurture our families. We don't want chemicals on it and chemicals on our farming systems. And it's actually the women that are rising up and saying enough is enough. So we're seeing this beautiful thing happening in our communities that is spearheaded by our women. And I think it's actually happening across the world. It is actually. It's our women that are standing up and in their divine feminine and saying, we are here and we are wanting our earth to be beautiful and rich and full of diversity. So this is the thing that we are passionate about in this regenerative agriculture space, because it's so important. Soil brings nutrient density into our food. It raises our vibration. It creates a whole new understanding of if our bodies are healthy, then we can connect all together as a community. So that is what Kelly and I are working together and connecting with. So thank you, Janice. That's probably, I know that we're short of time.
No, also just quickly talk about your podcast, because I'd love for people to know more about it so they can tune in other times and take a few minutes to talk about the movies and the festivals and all those things that now, as a global family with Zoom and the internet, everyone across the globe can participate in these joyous occasions.
Kelly, did you want to speak on that? Because you haven't had a chance to really speak, I think.
We are doing some amazing work here in Australia. Our push is about regeneration. We've come in with regenerative agriculture, but of course that is a minute scope of what is happening around the world. So we've started with the solutions, building Gaia up from the bottom up as we move into this amazing rise of the divine feminine and Gaia as she moves to this great awakening moment. And so we have a podcast we do every fortnight called Regenerate, where we interview some amazing people discussing all topics of regeneration and going past the politics and past sort of everyone's, processing what's going on the planet and just right into the new earth energetic templates, what that's going to look like, how we're going to be and feel as we live this future now. We have a Friday night free film night that is done online, which we set up since COVID started. Anyone can access that. We showcase any films or documentaries to do with regeneration across the board. We have an amazing charity called Carbonate, which is about transitioning farmers to regenerative agriculture. And we run the National Regenerative Agriculture Day, which is a really fantastic movement of community and culture through the solutions on the planet. And a really amazing journey, actually, to figure out how to launch a national day. So that in itself is an amazing podcast. Fantastic for so many. And as you can see, you know, most of this is driven by women. Of course, this is the rise of the divine feminine. We're moving from Pisces to Aquarius. We're going from this slow blocked energy right into Aquarius energy, right? Starts on the 21st. We're going to live this amazing transition. And I, for one, am very, very excited. We've got a lot coming up in the world. There's a lot of disclosure happening. We're going to see some darkness coming up from the surface in the next couple of weeks, months. So everyone gear yourself, because we're going to have a lot of trauma coming up as the shadow side has to be dealt with across the planet. And I know even with the most remarkable, you know, people down those rabbit holes, it's going to be a shocking time. So for all the women on this podcast, we have to stand and rise now, because the world has to heal its shadow. We have to heal the trauma. We have to find the truth. And that, to me, is everything. It is about the truth that brings unity, that brings us into sovereign human beings, once again, out of our enslavement. So I am excited.
Wow, that was so incredibly poetic. Yeah, so you see how regeneration really weaves itself through our whole being, because it really means to restore and renew and grow. And nature, you know, our mother is such a great model, because as she regenerates herself constantly with the ingenious and elegant brilliance, we look to that and we model with that, as all of the analogies that you gave, Auntie, then we are really truly birthing this new human. And out of the chaos, you know, Ilya Prigogine, the Russian scientist who won the Nobel Prize in the 70s for his theory of dissipative structures, and to paraphrase it, I mean, it's a whole big scientific theory, and I'm no Nobel laureate, but you've heard the term "out of chaos comes order," but it's what this basically is, very simplistically, is proving that out of certain types of chaos, the order that comes out is of a higher order. So we're moving up on this evolutionary spiral. So it falls apart, and as it comes together in a higher order. And so that's a perfect segue for the trust frequency, isn't it, Connie? Sorry, you've been quiet this whole time. So are you still there?
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah, so this is really your bailiwick here.
Well, it's just been a thrill to hear the ancestral wisdom coming from Auntie Puna, combined with the emergent vision of Kelly, with the earth wisdom of Helen. And so that's what I've seen for decades, is that this emergent reality going into this higher frequency, that it's all energy, it's all vibration. The earth's been in a lower frequency, and we've been responding to that lower frequency and put in place systems in response to that. So there's no shame, no blame. And we've had a job to do for all of creation, and that is to transmute the energies of fear, separation, and scarcity. And we've done a great job. And we got put into these different colors and these different languages and these different religions so we could get this job done. And here we are with this beautiful Kelly really expressing that knowing that she's come in with, to bring forth through her energetics into this emergent world. It's regenerative, but it's emergent. It's I would never tell the universe what I want, because the universe wants more than I can fathom. So I'm kind of a renegade in that regard, as far as intention and all that is concerned, because there's something beyond our conscious mind that we can't fathom. And we just have to look to our impulses, our intuition, and follow that and listen and take bold, committed action, and in trust of our own inner knowing, of a conscious, loving universe, and go for it. Because that's the only way we'll bring it through the physical. We have to bring it through the physical. And we're doing this for all of creation. we're going to shift all of creation. All of creation is awaiting the love in the human heart, the opening of the human heart. And that energetic is going to shift everything. So all I would say is that now modern science, breakthrough science, is proving this, what Auntie Puna has carried for us, and what the earth is bringing forth, and what Kelly is speaking of, the unified physics and the science of love of Jude Currivan is proving it. So the Western mind can now say, oh, that Newtonian physics that I based my life on, that was erroneous information about the nature of the universe. And I'm going to listen to these star seeds, to the earth, to the grandmothers, to the indigenous people who are carrying information for us. And it's called information, that's what the universe is made up of, that energy. So anyway, I just say, look to the breakthrough science, Nassim Haramein, Jude Currivan, for the mind, for that steel trap thing called the mind. Look to that to help our minds open to the oneness and sacredness of all life that is being carried for us by the indigenous people. Thank you.
Well, but also I am, just a little bit, I don't think we have to leave because we are not in the same room as the others, but I really wanted you to address the trust frequency because it's so important, and it was a concept for me. We all say we trust, but you've taken it to a whole nother level, and you model it. When challenges come up for you, when other people think through how to answer them, you just fly, you coast on the trust frequency. I've watched you do it for the 20 years I know you, and it's phenomenal teaching.